Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Mamiya 135 AF point and shoot camera. Now this is a more rare camera, and the reason I'm making a video today is one of my buddies happened to lend me the camera and I'd never seen it before, and I decided, you know what, Josh, I want to take a couple pictures with this camera and see just how it performs because I haven't seen a new point and shoot camera in quite a while. So we all know that point and shoots have been climbing in price in the last 5 years. I mean, when you think of expensive point and shoots, you're probably thinking about the Contax T2, which can be literally anywhere from $900 to $3,000 depending on the quality of the camera or basically the condition it's in. So that being said, one of my favorite things to do here on this channel is check out point and shoots where they're still really affordable but offer an amazing quality of photo. You know, they've got good glass and they're fun to work with. And that's why I wanted to do a review on the 135 AF that I've got here. Now, I don't personally own this camera. I wish I did. I'll probably be picking one up here pretty soon. But for now, let's just talk about how awesome this camera is and how affordable this camera is. So to start off, this guy actually is lever wound. And so what I mean by that is, if you look at the top here, it actually has a lever to advance the film. Obviously it's going to be your 36 shot, regular roll of 35mm that goes in here. But there's a lot of cool things about this camera that I really enjoy. Number one being the body. I'm a big fan of the body. Now, if you've ever used a Nikon L35 AF, that camera feels a little bit light. It is boxy and it doesn't really fit in the pocket very well. And while this doesn't fit in your pocket really well at all either, it's not very light. I mean, this thing feels indestructible. And if you watch my other point and shoot videos, you know that I really like that feeling of indestructibility. She feels good. The next thing I really liked about this camera is the autofocus. Now, while it does have the speed of a point and shoot camera, the autofocus is still maintained by half pressing the shutter down until you can see the range, like the needle tells you the range in which it's focusing and where it's focused. So like you can accurately see where the camera is focusing, and it takes a little bit of extra time for it to focus, but like at least you can see where it's gonna hit the shot. As well as that, when you're done with the film, it also has a little rewind tab at the top right here, which is awesome because you're not relying on a motor that might eventually break in the camera. That's a lot of the problems I've had with point and shoots, is the motor will literally just keel over and die on you. So that's something that I really enjoyed about this camera. As for loading it, it's pretty much the same as any other standard point and shoot. You just press the little lever down right here, and then what happens? The little door pops open, you just feed the film right into here, and then you start winding it with the lever. Again, since you're not relying on a motor to wind your film and advance your film, and none of us want to hear the crunchy sound of a 40-year-old motor trying to move your film across the space, the lever does everything for you and it's manual, and that's one less part that's going to break, which in my personal opinion improves the durability of the camera quite a bit. This camera is also pretty simple in that it does have a flash function. It's pretty straightforward. You can either have the flash on or off, and it sort of meters accordingly. I've got a couple photos that I'll show you guys in the photo walk ahead where you can tell that it's flash, and it was in dark shadows, and with the flash on, it metered it pretty, honestly, amazingly. And so for me, it's extremely reliable to have that flash on and to know that I can just turn it on, give it a second to charge, and then boom, the photo comes out really, really well. I should mention that unlike most point and shoot cameras, this isn't an actual 35mm lens, it is a 38mm lens, which, unless you're really used to 35 or looking down a 35mm lens with a viewfinder, you're not going to be able to tell immediately the difference between a 38 and a 35, so you can really just treat this like it's a regular point and shoot camera. It also comes with an f2.8, which means it's going to let a decent bit of light in. A lot of lower end point and shoot cameras start at f3.5, which is totally fine because you'd usually use your point and shoot camera in the daytime where there's going to be plenty of light, and if you're shooting at night or in a dark space, it would kind of just put the flash on in any case. But for us, we have that one stop of extra light with the Mamiya. Now, if you're someone who's new to film, And I know a lot of you guys that are watching this video, you're probably interested in an affordable point and shoot camera that you can call yours to dedicate all those good times you share with your friends, those memories and with family, and just those moments you want to capture and not think about it. And so I will say that for those of us who are more inclined and more into film cameras in medium format specifically, we all know that Mamiya glass is probably some of the best film glass you can get on the market, unless you're talking about Leica lenses or Zeiss lenses, of course. And I think that adds a ton of value to this camera, having Mamiya glass in there, because it makes the photos that much sharper. And also you'll notice in the photo walk that there isn't exactly a ton of vignetting on the photos, which, I mean, look, when you're using a point and shoot camera, a little bit of vignetting's not gonna hurt you. Like, it really isn't. And for me, I don't think about it too much, but as I've come and learned more about film cameras, one thing that people always say, especially those who are gearheads, they always say, this camera's got a little bit of vignetting, you know, not my favorite thing. And to me, I'm just like, okay, it's got a bit of vignetting, it's fine, whatever. But this doesn't have very much vignetting at all. It's those dark corners in the top edges of your screen, top and bottom edges of your screen, where it shows that light can't exactly get to the full frame due to what the lens is, the lens size and the lens quality. And for this camera, that problem isn't very much apparent. It also comes with a strap. So, strap on, strap off. The rest of the dials on the camera are pretty straightforward. I looked at the user manual for this camera to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, and it's literally like 1 or 2 pages for everything that you get on this camera. And for me, not only does that make my life easier, but it also means that the less I need to control on the camera, the more I can just focus on shooting and use this the way that I think it was intended to be used, as a very quick point and shoot camera that happens to have an advanced lever on it. You'll also see that it has the ISO controls right here, where there's a little grooved circle around the lens that you just move back and forth to change the ISO, or the ASA as it were. And then underneath the lens itself is the little light meter that is going to tell the camera how to read the light. Now, because this camera does have an ISO setting, that means it's not going to be reading the DX code on your film. So if you're used to point and shoots and you're used to putting a 35mm roll into your camera and just letting the camera do the work, just be wary that you should make sure to set your ISO appropriately to what you're looking to get out of the camera. Now, last but not least about this camera, sort of the specifics so you know what you're working with. It has a minimum aperture of f/17, which means it can shoot pretty bright with a maximum shutter speed of 1/450th of a second, which is really close to 1/500th of a second. And of course, 1/500th of a second is going to be basically the minimum speed that you'd want to use to shoot for, you know, a sports game or motion or a movement. As I mentioned in one of my other videos, 1/500th of a second is the rate at which a hummingbird beats its wings, so if it can capture a hummingbird beating its wings, it can capture a lot of other things. It also has a minimum shutter speed of 1/8 of a second, and that means you can get some pretty low light exposures if you're using a tripod and shooting on some higher ISO film. Now, I wouldn't try it personally because I'm not the most experimental guy with night photography, but look, if that's your jam and you want to create some cool nighttime scenes that have a little bit of motion blur, by all means, knock yourself out. And now we are on to the photo walk. So, a little bit of context for the photo walk before we dive right in. I'm just gonna shut up and let you see the photos. But beforehand, I just wanna say that we shot on T-Max 100. I decided to use a slower speed film because I wanted to see just how sharp that lens was with low grain, so that none of the grain sort of got in the way of how sharp the image was. And it was also a cloudy/sunny day. It was a partly cloudy day. And so I knew it was gonna be bright and that I was gonna be shooting close to the middle of the day, so I wanted to make sure I got the harsher shadows captured on a lower ISO film. And then I also switched to color. I shot a color roll as well. I decided to shoot on color plus 200, and these shots are just me toting the camera around in my everyday life just to see what it could capture if I wasn't putting too much thought into the photos. And with that all said, I'll see you guys on the other side. So what we're gonna try to do for this shot is, we've got the skyline this way. There's a lot of cranes, which I'm sure you can't see, but we're gonna shoot the city through the grate, and we're gonna see how that works out. I like that shot. Would you take that shot? I'd take that shot. That's getting the flash. Oh, there you are. So as you can see from the black and white, which were personally my favorite, the sharpness that comes out of this camera and just the quality of photo and the depth of quality coming from the Mamiya lens is absolutely insane. There was one photo that you saw where I decided to use flash to photograph a lamppost in front of a tree, and you know, that's a pretty sticky situation for a point and shoot, to make sure that the flash reflecting off of metal in front of an object that is lit by the sun, the fact that it was able to meter that and balance all those ranges together is what gives me so much confidence in the camera. I had a lot of fun walking around Austin, Texas and just finding stuff to shoot. In terms of like usability, there was nothing about the camera that got in the way. It felt just like using a point and shoot, but obviously I've been using SLRs for quite a while now, so that second nature of cranking the lever got in my way in absolutely no bit whatsoever. And then moving on to shooting the stuff that's more everyday with the Color Plus 200, I also found that I had pretty similar results in terms of usability. I wasn't really thinking about the shots. I was kind of just throwing them away and letting them just become what they were, especially with a lower quality film like Color Plus 200. Damn, that guy is really revving his car. God bless him. But no, with the Color Plus 200, even though it's a lower quality film, I still had a great time and noticed that the photos came out really sharp despite the grain. And honestly, I'm really impressed with this camera. Well, thank you guys so much for watching the video. My buddy showed me this camera, and I just thought immediately, I was just like, yo, I have to make a YouTube video about this because it is such a high quality item for such a low price. I didn't mention it earlier in the video, but this is literally on eBay right now, and it's pretty rare. You won't find a lot of selections being sold, but the ones that are near mint on eBay right now are selling for about $100, and it's amazing that it's not higher. So if you're looking for a niche point and shoot camera that is more or less reliable, made by a company who's known for exceptional glass in the medium format realm and can handle all your daily needs and then some with a higher quality than some of the point and shoots that are up in the 400s, 500s, even thousands of dollars, this is an absolute steal, and I would definitely behooveth you to grab one. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Bрэндон Горри. I've got all links in description for interests on camera, on eBay, on what I used to shoot this episode, and of course all my socials. Thank you so much. Goodbye.